Hi, I'm Debbie Goodman, and this is Martial Arts Mania. I am truly honored today to have been invited to the school of Benny The Jet Urquidez. Welcome to my show, Benny, and thank you so much for granting me this interview.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
You know, there's so many things I want to ask. There's so many things I want to talk about. I don't even know where to start, but let's start with a little bit of background on you personally. You and I have something in common.
Okay.
We're both part Native American.
True.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, my father, professional boxer, which is from Spain, and he's Basque, and my mother is American Indian, which is a wrestler. Now, how they got together, I don't know. But there's 9 black belts in my family.
Wow.
There's 4 champions in my family. I started actually my walk in the art of war back at 3 years old, boxing. And by the time I was 5 years old, I was boxing Pee Wee division. And I was boxing actually, and then I started karate. Oh, actually, I started in judo. And judo was very popular in the 50s and the 60s. So I started judo and all the way up until 63. And then I started Kempo karate with Birozaki. And my brother was already doing the art. My oldest brother, Arnold, he was already in the art doing. And so he kept on wanting me to go over there. And for myself, I was never on a reservation. My oldest brothers were, not me though. And we actually moved into a small, whether you want to call it the projects or so forth, but it was, government run and so forth. But, however, we, for entertainment, all my brothers, we all fought, trained with each other. So that was our thing. And all the way up until about 73, my brother was training with Birozaki, and I was getting in trouble. My mom just, needed, my father was too physically, external type of a father. And so she sent me to train with my brother, actually all of us, in 63, Kempo Karate. And so, we trained all the way up, and in this, I already had boxing background. So I was hurting a lot of the kids because, doing martial arts, but mixing it with boxing hands of understanding, I was hurting a lot of the kids. So actually in 64 is when we went to the Nationals, we saw Bruce Lee. In 65 is when he did a demonstration where I saw, and he was demonstrating the 4-inch strike. And my mother, being Native American, was always teaching me internal type of training and warfare, which I never understood what she was saying, even though she was, I'll give you an example. I'd go in the living room, my father, he'd be watching boxing. I sit down, he'd slap me in the head, watch this, and I said, okay, so I'd be watching, and then I'd go in the kitchen, and my mom will hold on to me and explain, that's how my father shows his love to me, because he's not a verbal type of person. So my mother will always be telling me internally why he does the things he does. And so I had really a good balance between my mother, my sister, I have 4 sisters.
Wow.
And, and I always used to understand, why me? And so by the time at 10 years old, they were giving me manicures and pedicures. I was so embarrassed. I used to cry when my sister, I used to be crying. I said, no, don't do it. And because I didn't want, I thought it was so embarrassing. But growing back up in there, you can see how close I was to my sisters. And they were teaching me internal training about a female energy. And I'm thinking, what do I care? What do I, what do I want to know that, And then, manicure, I said, they're not white. Nobody could be looking at my feet and this and that. She said, yes, they are. You make, and so I got a good understanding between, and then with my wife and so forth, and between all of them, they just were teaching me about the opposite sides of energy from a woman. I already knew from a man. As far as my father would say, don't show you're afraid, don't show you're scared, don't show you're crying, show that you're sick, they'll take advantage of you. So, as a kid, I would never cry because I thought it was weak. Because that's what my father told me. And don't show I'm afraid because they take advantage. So all this emotion, as I was young, I would be hiding. And then I would take it out in the tournament because it was my way of releasing. Okay? And so by the time in 65, I saw Bruce Lee do the 4-inch strike and knock this guy, with a plate over a chair and this and that. And I jumped up from that point on. I said, I want to be able to spar with Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee with a point where not to show no disrespect of anything, just wanting to see what it would feel like. So my brother told me, you don't have the experience to even want to spar with him. So I started beating every tournament there was. Every internationals, I was taking grand championships. I was taking 5 trophies in every tournament, and because I wanted so bad to spar with him, just to test. And then I was the youngest. I was 17, just turning 18. I was on the Bruce Lee team. The Bruce Lee, the Elvis Presley team, and they got fighters from all over the world. And in United States, they took the best in United States, and I happened to beat everybody in my division. So I was the youngest on the team, so on the Elvis Presley team. So we went to Europe, we went to Belgium, went to England, and I defeated everybody. And I came back in 73, and I told my brother, now, my brother said, you still don't have enough experience. So my brother said, you want to do full contact karate? And I said, what's full contact karate? And they said, well, it's karate to the knockout. And I said, I won't get disqualified. And he says, no, it's to the knockout, but I won't get disqualified. I couldn't understand, that it's to the knockout. I just kept on thinking I was going to get disqualified because I'm excessive. And so I went to Hawaii. My 2 brothers and I, we went to Hawaii. On Saturday, I fought 7 guys, knocked out. The first time I knocked out the first guy, I looked around to see if I was going to get disqualified. And they lifted my hand. I said, all right, I didn't get disqualified. So I fought 7 times. And then on Sunday, I fought 4 times. I fought Dana Goodson for the championship. I fought Dana Goodson, and I stopped him in the 4th round. And so I took the tournament. So I came back home, and I told my brother, now I earned the right to spar with Bruce Lee. And then he died. So I never had that chance, but... So people always want to compare me, and I said, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, Bruce Lee is the best, because I would never know. As far as I'm concerned, he was the best, and that's the way it is. Because they like to compare me. He says, well, you're the real deal, this and that. I said, you know what? It didn't matter. What Bruce Lee came and did, he brought martial arts to the United States and brought it open. And I said, I appreciate that, because he opened the door for me. And so then they were calling me world champion, and I said, well, how can I be a world champion if I haven't been outside the United States with it? And my brother said, really? So Howard Hansen and my brother started the WKA. And so they went looking, they said, you want to fight Muay Thai? Honest to God truth, I said, yeah, I'll fight him, because I thought that was his name. I said, yeah, I'll fight him. No worries. And so they brought 2 Thai champions from Thailand, and I think Ernest fought the first one, and he got stopped. He was beating them, and then he got stopped in the 3rd. And then I fought the champion. Was the main event. And this is when I got introduced to thigh kicks. I had Charlie horse before, but I've never had anybody intention to try to break my legs. Wow. So at that point, I kept on telling my brother, what do I do? He said, kick him back. I kick him back. I was hurting myself. And then I realized that this guy was bringing emotions that I don't get when I'm out in the street fighting and, and acting stupid out in the street. This guy brought that same emotion forward because it was a threat. And after there was a big riot started in the 9th round, and it went up like a wave. It went up and all the way around the ring, so they called it no contest. They stopped it. So I had a rematch, and anyway, I ended up beating, and in Japan, they wanted to know who was this American just finished beating this Thai champ. So I got invited to Japan, and I wear long gi bottoms, and they told me I can't wear them. I said I'm not going to fight. So they thought I was going to get knocked out anyway, so I ended up beating him. The champion, retired champion, came from out of retirement, and he came in, and I ended up beating him, and the rest is history. So I said to my brother, I want to be able to take this, because this Thai brought something internal. He turned me inside out, which my mother was talking about, and I said, this Thai did that, and I want to know what he's doing and why. So I started going on my journey in different countries, third world countries. Now the hard part was going to, not so much my opponent, it was after I knocked my opponent out, going from the ring to the dressing room. Because my brother said, why is your legs bleeding? I didn't realize that I was not only fighting against their countrymen, I was fighting against their families and their fellow members and so forth. And I was from the ring, they were sticking me, I don't know what they were sticking me with.
Oh my
and my legs were
gosh.
bleeding. And so my brother, and so I'd take my gi bottoms off, and I would see that I would have punctures on my leg.
Oh my gosh.
So somebody interviewed me and said, wasn't you afraid that they could have killed you and just dumped you in a river or something? I said, I never thought of that. I was introducing the sport to the world. Hey, I didn't think about the danger in it, because to me, my purpose was to introduce the sport of kickboxing to this third world country. In '80, I opened up the biggest fighting gym in the world. It was called the Jet Center. I mean, I had dormitories. I had 36 countries training out of it.
Oh my
The
gosh.
best of the best came.
Where was this?
This was right here in Van Nuys.
Oh my
It was the
gosh.
biggest gym. I had dormitories, full-blown restaurant. I had
Oh my
jacuzzis,
gosh.
saunas, Japanese baths. I had weight room, the state-of-the-art weight room, and above it was actually dormitories. In the front, when you walked in, I had actually the office, but basically is where I had the wrestlers on one side and had a sports store on the other side, and then there was a control booth that you went upstairs. Upstairs were offices, but then there was a sports medicine upstairs. I did
my gosh.
doctors upstairs, and then I had on the right was the women's dressing room, men's. But in both of them, they had jacuzzis, Japanese baths, saunas. They had steam rooms. They had you name it. We had it all in there. And going down the ramp, we had 2 rings, state-of-the-art weight room, and the floor was almost, I have to say, 5,000 square feet. The State Athletic Commission saw the money involved in it, so they actually started and sanctioned kickboxing in '87. That's when they got involved, and they started sanctioning kickboxing. And then as it went on, they started other associations, and they started little modification. But in the journey, in the late 80s, the Gracies came in with ground fighting. That was 88, 89, they came in with ground fighting. And then in the 90s, they started challenging anybody that had a name. And so my last fight was in 94. So I hold 6 titles in 5 weight divisions. So I hold the title from 130 all the way up into 154. 154 was my last title fight. But I came in with all my clothes on at 151 in the scale. I'm too small to get any heavier. And so after that, what was coming in, mixed martial arts. Actually, mixed martial arts started, cage fighting. They started it in 90. And 95 is when mixed martial arts, the word mixed martial arts came in, and they started because there was not allowed to mix martial arts back then, as you know. So they started calling mixed martial arts from 95 to 2000. Everybody was doing cage fighting. Cage fighting was the biggest thing around the world. That was it. Everybody was doing it. And so mixed martial art was hot from 95 and then the UFC took it over. And took it over. It went like wildfire and up to this point. So,
And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have the UFC. We wouldn't have mixed martial arts. I think that one of the things that is lost in some of today's martial arts schools is the philosophy.
Is the Bushido way. From the beginning, which I'm old school, to this day I teach old school. Why? Basics look fancy when you do them right. And the honor system. Okay? Honor from the biblical days, way from the beginning. Honor your mother, your father, your brother, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your teachers. Honor. We lost the honor system to this group, in this day and age. We lost the honor systems. Mm-hmm. In the 60s, we lost that somewhere. The 70s, kickboxing came in the 70s, and now you had a dividing between, I'm a martial artist and I'm a kickboxer. I'm a kickboxer, I can beat you because you're just a martial artist. And martial artists say, yeah, go out in the street, I'll gouge your eyes out, this and that, you're kickboxing, this and that, so now there was a dividing. Mm-hmm. There was dividing between the kickboxing and the martial artists. And then kickboxing started, because then it started going on Wild World of Sports, NBC, and it got a lot of publicity all the way through the 60s until the 90s. And then the late 80s and early 90s, the Gracies came in and started with, cage fighting, mixed martial arts. And then there was dividing between, oh, you're a kickboxer, I'm a cage fighter, I'm a mixed martial artist. So now there's dividing again between the kickboxing and MMA, because every sport needs a hero. Mm-hmm. And there was no more heroes at that time. After I fought, there was nobody pushing kickboxing. Mm-hmm. And so kickboxing was going, and MMA was going up, and kickboxing was starting to go down. And then 2000, everybody's doing cage fighting, and kickboxing starts to get lost. My grandson saw this child. He was 9 years old, had a black belt on. My grandson said, look, Papa Jet, he's a black belt like you. And I said to him, well, he has a black belt, but he's not like me. He doesn't have the experience. And first of all, he's not old enough. He doesn't have enough experience in life. Yeah, but he's wearing a black belt like you. So he compared me to this little kid that's wearing a black belt. Mm-hmm. And I said, so I explained, so I wanted to explain to him that yes, he is wearing a black belt. First of all, he's not old enough. He doesn't have enough experience in life. Mm-hmm. And plus, he doesn't have the experience I have in combat, okay, because he's not old enough. However, my grandson was scratching his head like, well, the presentation, he's wearing a black belt, you're wearing a black belt. And so that's what he thought. So I start to realize, okay, we're losing something in the art from this generation. Mm-hmm. I told my grandson, you want to talk to me? Hey, you want to talk to your friend? Put that phone down and talk to me. He said, well, I'm mad at him. I said, then turn, look him in his eyes and tell him you're mad at him. He said, I am.
Yeah.
I said, no, put that down, turn, look at him and tell him you're mad and tell him why you're mad at him. Well, I was doing it. I said, put that down, turn around and tell him, and they both got scared. And I said, talk to each other. Why are you mad at each other? Why are you mad at him? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm mad at him because... And he said, why are you mad at him? Well, because he said like this and he wouldn't let me play with his Lego, la, la, la. And I said, okay. So what he's saying to you, Levi, that, you don't know how to share. And all he wanted to do is share with you. He didn't want to take it home. He just wanted to share with you. And you didn't want him to touch your Legos because you like all your things a certain way. That's fine. But when you invite somebody over, being a good host means you offer. And so the teaching was being able to teach them, because what's happening on these cells, they're losing communication, first of all. Second of all, they're losing the emotion to be able to defend, because it's all on phone.
everybody is a keyboard warrior. They can fight over the phone, but when they have to face, they can't say things
How
to
true.
each other
How true.
that they are daring to say on their cell phone or over a computer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because it made, you know, I'm tough. When
Oh,
I
yeah.
can put it here.
That's
Hey, I'm going to teach him a lesson.
This is a perfect example of trolling or trolls. People that will come on and say, they're daring to say things that they would never say to your face.
First of all, they don't have, you know, the courage behind what they're doing.
That's right.
See, it's almost like somebody says, well, at least, I mean, my intentions were good. I said, well, maybe in your mind your intentions were good, but you didn't have the courage to do it. So what good is good intentions without courage behind it? All you're doing is saying, well, I was going to do it, but I said, no, you just didn't have the courage to do it. Hey, so what good is your good intentions? You had no courage behind it anyway. Now I look at this generation, and I can't call them warriors, because just because they can swing and kick and punch each other, a warrior, there's a code of honor between warriors. That means if we're going to fight to the death, there's a code of honor. And there was honor. If you take my life, there was an honor in it, and I'm okay with it because we both agree upon that. And I was okay with it. But every time I stopped somebody, my intentions were not to hurt, not to brag or boast. My intentions were, we both agreed to go up there and play a physical game of chess. I came up on top, I stopped him. But my intentions was to play a physical game of chess, not to hurt him and prove something. Because after every one of my opponents, when I fought and I stopped them, I would always go to the dressing room and ask them if they would go and have dinner with me. And most of them would not, but there were a handful that did. And we get a chance to talk, and I said, you know what, I get a chance to tell them how much courage that they had, and how much that I really enjoyed and was very thankful, because without them, I couldn't do what I love doing without you. And I thank you so much for showing up. I get a chance to thank them for showing up, because I couldn't do what I love doing without them. So the idea of warfare was mental warfare. And then it changed into physical warfare. And then it changed into spiritual warfare. Then it changed into character warfare. I have energy that attacks. But most people only see one way, external. I see an object, it comes after me, I try to stop it. With anger, fear, for whatever I'm stopping it with, all these emotions come in. The art of war is about learning about what warfare is about to begin with. Do you do it for sport? You do it, I do it because I have to make a living. I said, that's why you're doing it? I do it because I don't want to disappoint my mother, my father, my brothers, my wife, my coach, my sensei. I do it because they're forcing me and I don't want to let them down. I'm fearful like heck, but I'm going to do it anyway. I said, but what happened to the love? What happened to the love for what you're doing? I said, don't you love what you're doing? And most people, right now, all of them, they're doing it as a business. The fight game is all about a business. What have you done for me lately, and how much can I get? And I said, so that's what the fight game is about now. When I interpret the fight game, I interpret the art of war. I didn't interpret the fight. I interpret an art of war, skillful against somebody else. It was a skill of intelligence, of internal understanding, warfare. This is why I went out there and performed. I was a people's choice. I didn't go out there to prove it to anybody, to get a bout or anything. I didn't care, win, draw, or lose. It didn't matter to me. I had the opportunity to give the people what they came for, and that was a show. I came to entertain them, and I became the people's choice. And that was the only reason why I kept on going, because I was there for them.
How did you come up with the name The Jet?
Back in 70, matter of fact, this was way back in the early 70s, late 60s, I was at Madison Square Garden fighting. Darnell Garcia was, and I'm a good jump kicker. And Darnell was saying, "Hey, Benny, come on, let me see you fly. You know, jump out there. Let me see you." He wanted to see my jump spinning back kick jumps. He said, "Let me see you fly. Come on, Jet, you know, fly like a jet." And so the audience kept on saying, "Jet, Jet." So the more they said Jet, the more excited they got me. And I started doing jump spinning back kicks and I stopped my opponent with a jump spinning back kick and so forth. And so the name Benny the Jet stuck. And then sure enough, a year and a half, 2 years later, Benny and the Jets came out, you know,
Yeah.
with Elton John. And so it just kept on going. Now, I have no idea. All I know was, because of that song, I brought it and made it known all over the world because I became Benny the Jet at that time. And everybody called me. So when I took kickboxing around the world, introducing it, I introduced it as Benny the Jet. And so Benny the Jet became a label to kickboxing. And so I went around the world introducing and so forth. And so that's how Benny the Jet became the Jet.
Did you ever go by another name before that? Just
Benny.
Benny Urquidez?
Just Benny. My family will call me Benito.
Uh-huh.
And people that know me, just, you know, all my students will call me Sensei, you know. So there are three names they call me. Either people that don't know me call me Benny. People that follow me call me Benny the Jet. And people that work with me, train with me, did something with me, call me Sensei. And I answer to all the above.
Now, you mentioned you were on the Elvis Presley team.
Yes, right.
Did you meet Elvis?
Yes, that's right.
Tell me a little bit about him.
You know, I can't because he had, like, for instance, Mr. Parker and so forth, so we kept away from him.
I see.
There was a handful that we just kept in. We were the border watchers, so we were kind of the fence watching. And there was only so many that he kept very close to him.
Well, the reason I have a little connection to Elvis, I was named after Deborah Paget, who played opposite Elvis in Love Me Tender.
Yeah.
And of course, I love his music.
Yes, of course.
But it's been interesting to meet people that actually met him or somehow close to him. Such an interesting person. I still remember the day that he passed. I had just turned 20 years old about a week prior, and it was shocking news.
Yeah.
You know?
So I was very close to Priscilla. My wife and I were very close to Priscilla, and when Lisa Marie and so forth was just born, and we spent a lot of time, you know, with them, with Mike Stone and so forth. So we spent a lot of time together and over there. And I started to train. I started to train her, and I was training Lisa Marie, and then she started going different places. But the good part was, I had the opportunity to train kings, queens, do demonstrations for presidents. I've had the power is in the journey, not so much the destiny.
I agree.
And in this journey, it's a roller coaster ride of emotions, up and down, good, bad, and ugly. But I recognize, my mother once said, when the darkness shows up, it has purpose. Never run from it because it's going to teach you something about you. So when any time something negative or ugly showed up, I said, I'm here. I'm here for the blessing, whatever it may be. I'm here for the blessing. Hey? And if you come toward me, I'm not going to say, how can I help you? I'm going to say, what do you want? Whatever this ugly energy comes, what do you want? I'm going to confront it. Either it's going to tell me what it wants or it's going to flee. And usually it flees. Women can walk in a room and look at a man and say, oh, I don't like him. And because you're picking up his intentions of energy. But men will say, you don't even know him. Give him a break, this and that. And sure enough, you say, didn't I say?
Oh,
but,
yeah.
And so I started, my sisters, my mother and my wife, all, was balanced me on that. between male and female energy. And I start to understand there's a balance in that because there's two different energies going on and different ways of thinking. My sister was saying that it was okay for women to express emotions. And all men say, but it wasn't okay for boys and young men to express because it was showing weak. So we were taught to hide everything. But my sister was saying, be aware. Your girlfriend, this is why. Okay? And I said, well, why is she acting like that? Mm-hmm. And they would tell me, and I said, really? And I started to recognize, so when I started working with women, now I already had titles at 14 years old. I was the youngest black belt. Now, you know, back in the 60s, you had to be 21 or 18 years old to even go for black belt. Even think about it. But because I was hurting these kids, and a lot of the parents were complaining to Mr. Parker and all them that, he's hurting my kids. I don't want him to fight him. Mm-hmm. And so Mr. Parker was, tell my brother to calm us down and so forth, because I was already a good boxer and I hit him in the body and make him cry. And so all the parents, so I started to recognize back then that, okay, when I became a black belt, and I was all 14 years old, got my shodan, and I get by the 14s and at the nationals, and they're saying, you have to go over there. I said, no, I'm 14. They said, no, you're shodan, you're black belt. I said, no, I'm 14. They said, go over there. And I'm looking, Chuck Norris, Joe Louis, Skipper Mullins, all my brother, all them, and I'm going, oh my God. And so I'm walking over there with the tail between my legs, and I was thinking, I can't, they're men, man, I'm just a kid. And so my brother said, so you wanted to be black belt, huh? And so what happened when Mr. Park, there was 28 of them. I passed, they all kicked me, and my brother kicked me and put me in the hospital, broke my ribs, because he was so angry I broke tradition. And so everybody was angry at my brother for breaking my ribs. But my brother said, you want to be black belt? Go. And then I realized what my brother was saying. You can no longer fight in this category. You're a black belt. Now you got to fight with all these guys. And so I thought, oh my God. Now I know what my brother was saying. I didn't understand why he was so angry when he kicked me. Mm-hmm. So I get there, and now I'm fighting against some of these guys from all over the world. And man, these are 30. They're 30, 20s in their late, and they're powerful. And I go up there, and they would pat me in the head, don't worry, kid, this and that. And then I would beat them. And I was still the kid. For the first two tournaments, I was still the little kid, mm-hmm. And, they thought I was cute and this and that. And then I beat them again the next tournament. And I would take the trophy. The next tournament, they will stand right by me. Now they're going to teach me a lesson. You want to wear that black belt? They stand right by me, and I go, and I can feel their energy. I said, oh, here it comes. Mm-hmm. I said, now they're going to come after me. I was so fast. I go between their legs. I was all over the place because I was afraid if they hit me, they'd break me in half. And let me tell you, they were coming after me. Let me tell you, they were not playing around. I mean, they were throwing on cement, man, and so forth. I mean, we were fighting. There was no such thing as a match. It was on concrete and wood, and these guys were hitting. I come with bloody nose and this and that, but I would win. And I'm so thankful for them, because without them putting that kind of pressure on me, that kind of threat to me, I never would have been able to understand that kind of threat and pressure like this Thai guy put on me. Because he tried to hurt me, and whether they were going to, I think in the tournament and the nationals, they wasn't trying to hurt me. They were trying to teach me a lesson. Now that I was wearing this black belt, right. You want to wear it, they're going to teach me a lesson. But this Thai guy was trying to hurt me. And so my journey was about understanding internal. So when I wrote the first kickboxing book in 78 and went around the world with it, in 80, I opened up the Jet Center, the biggest fighting gym. Why? Because I needed a home where people, and that became the hub, and spokes around the world came to learn the art of kickboxing. And so that's when I realized in martial arts, I learned this back in the 50s and 60s, and we lost it because now we had a dividing between the kickboxers and the martial artists, and then between the MMA fighters and the kickboxers, and then the cage fighters and MMA fighters, and now, up to this point. So I recognize internal training is truly what we're missing today. They're not teaching the internal training. They're not teaching you how to deal with emotions under pressure. They're teaching you, to me, you know what I call it? I call it memorized martial arts. Okay? Because a lot of these schools, they do it for the money, they memorize the technique, and then they get a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I said, here, this is about ownership. You got to own this material. You got to own. That means you got to be able to do it without thinking. You got to see it respond, hear it respond, feel it respond. You don't have time to think. That's ownership. I own this material. I own this technique.
They can take that piece of material off your waist, but they can't take it away from you physically and mentally.
That's right.
I've heard of some schools that, to shame a certain student or whatever, they take their black belt away. It's like, but you can't take away what the body knows, what the mind knows, what the soul can feel.
What you were talking about is experience. They can never take the experience. All they can take is just
That piece of material.
material. And, frankly, that doesn't protect me in the streets.
That's right. Let's talk a little bit about the colors. I see a repeat of the colors in some of the schools that I go into. Blue, red, black, gray. Let's talk a little
The
bit
reason
about
for
those.
that, the reason for these colors I had and my family had, because the color of Native American colors. And in this, and we've been wearing them since the early 60s, we've been wearing these colors. And as we all know, the black is a mastery color. Okay? And everybody works their way to black as mastery. The red is a very fiery color. Okay? And it gives you, courage. Fire yourself up and have the courage, that red. And the Pacific red is dragon red. And then you have the gray, which the gray is a very honest color. And it's like being honest to your soul. While you're here on purpose and reason, be honest to it. Okay? In other words, be honest to yourself. And then blue is a healing color that we use as healing your mind, body, and soul, as enlightening one. So those four colors that we use are very important to what the eyes see, to what the ears hear, to what the nose smells, to what the tongue tastes, all in blends in these colors because they change the chemicals of your system into a certain emotion to move you a certain way.
What is the symbol around your neck?
This is a dragon.
You were born in the year of the dragon, were you not?
That's right, exactly. And so this is a dragon sign because of that. And but actually, for me, I'm Gemini. Okay, and little city, little country. There's balance in that. And so, as a Gemini, for myself, I'm not like most Geminis that I've met, and I can tell a Gemini. But I haven't met many Geminis as the way I look at things, as I perceive things, how I smell things, how I feel things, how I think about things. I haven't met, and that was been my journey. My journey is about, because I want to be taught. I've been in warfare for the last 5 decades, but if there's somebody who can teach me, if you can teach me something, I promise you I will be your best student because I want to know. Even if you taught me something and I can show you 5 different ways of the same thing, I would just be thankful that you would want to share that with me. And I would be thankful that you want to teach me that.
It's interesting. I bring martial artists to Fresno to offer seminars. And what's interesting is the response that I get from some of the schools. Some of the instructors will say, but I already know everything. And that just floors me. Anybody that says, but I already know everything, doesn't.
So they already memorized everything, huh?
Everything. I already know everything, they say. And I walk away just shaking my head because I know that I don't know everything. And there's always something you can learn, no matter how minute, that could absolutely change a lot of things.
I've been around the world 5 times in the film business, 5 times in the fight business. I've been to every third world country there was. And I've been blessed to work with all the greatest masters in their country as a young person. And they want to know how I just beat their best in their country. And I said, if you will answer me a question, I will tell you how I can beat your best. And my question was to them, how do where do you get your power from and how do you access it? In a seminar, I asked 700 black belts. I asked, who here knows where your power comes from and how do you access it? Did you know only 4 people raised their hand?
Wow.
One said, I get power, chi power. And I said, okay, if you got chi power, how do you access it? From inside. I said, well, how do you get it from inside? You say, chi power, come in and it comes out. You do a certain thing. I'm asking you, how do you receive that power when you say chi power? How do you receive it? How do you get it out? And he said, well, it's in me. I said, I understand it's in you. How do you receive it out? How do you bring it forward when you need it? Right there and then. How does it come out? What do you do? And he said, well, it just happens. And I said, thank you very much. And I said, what do you do? Breath medicine. I can break bricks, I can break boards, I can break this and this. And I said, so how do you receive it? With breath. And I said, okay, that's external power. How about internal power? And he goes, well, what are you at? I said, I'm asking. I said, how do you get internal power? He said, well, in my mind, and I use breath, and I break things. I said, that's external. How about internal power? Couldn't answer me. So the third one says, yeah, like a little bit about what he said and a little bit about what he said. I said, what do you say? Yeah, like what they said, I think that, I said, thank you very much. The fourth one, start laughing. He laughed, he said, I'm a 6th degree. He said, you know what? I'm at this point, I should know. But he said, after listening to them, I'm really thinking about where do I get my power from and how do I access this? And I listened to them and I said, I got nothing to say. And he didn't say, I said, you had the most cleverest answer of all. That you had the courage to say when you're not sure of something, you say, I shall return with an answer. Right now, I don't know. And that was most clever because there's power in that. That you're not afraid to admit when you don't know something. Hey, but you will go and search for it. But you know what? Not any of them. All of them, I'm waiting for them to challenge me. Where do you get your power from? How do you get your power? And not one challenged me.
Interesting.
Not one of all of them, after I asked them, not one challenged me. Because they were thinking that if they challenged me, they were going to challenge me in the ring. And I'm undefeated. So,
They're not gonna try.
So they misinterpret what I was saying. They didn't even understand. So they went fearful. That's why they didn't ask me. You know what? It's like somebody, I would say, who's going to be first? And they picked up their hand and said, please don't pick me, please don't pick me. They're raising their hand in their mind thinking, please don't pick me. I said, well, why'd you raise your hand? Well, because everybody was here watching me, and I should know.
Interesting.
I should be able to tell you. I am the best here. I am master. Because I'm the master. And I said, okay. What does master mean to you? Well, I'm the master. I'm the best at what I do. I said, but what does master mean to you? What does that mean to you? Well, I'm the best at what I do. I said, that's what master means to you? I said, you should go to the dictionary, first of all, before you open your mouth about what master is about. Mm-hmm. And then he turned around and got mad. And he said, well, you're a master. I said, I didn't say I was a master. He said, but you're a master. You're the one, you have your own, you designed your own a line of equipment and machines and technique and this. And I said, you call me a master. I don't call myself a master. And he said, I said, right now, I'm learning to master myself. When I master myself, then I'll go on to mastery. When I get into mastery, maybe I'll earn the right to be a master. I said, right now, I'm learning to master myself. So if that answers you, that you're not so angry because I challenged you into what you know, I wasn't challenging you. What I was doing is asking you a question. Not if you knew or not, because it didn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to know what it meant to you. And you got upset and you brought emotions up because you thought I cornered you, and I didn't corner you. I wanted to know how you're perceiving master when you call yourself a master. Here, I went to New York, and everybody there was master. This guy was 30 years old. He called himself master. Everybody, I've never seen so many masters in one place. And I said, you're 30 years old, but you say you're master. I'm Master Laleza, and I'm super grandmaster master, and I'm triple God, grandmaster master. And I said, they said, you're a master. And I said, I don't consider myself a master. I said, I'm learning how to master myself. I said, look at my card. You see it says master? It says sensei. I'm a teacher. I'm here to teach a way of life. I'm not teaching you how to live your life. I'm here to give you tools that you may live your life with, that you may do something better than I did with it. That's a teacher. Because to me, there's three people that teach us. There are trainers that they go, oh, I like that stretch. Oh, I like that punch. And then they go out there sell it like a car salesman. Not all, but most. And then there you got coaches. They go by the curriculum. We're going to do this. I said, well, what about? No. We're going to do this. And they just go in the curriculum and nothing else matters. I said, okay, the curriculum is one thing, but you're gifted. Why wouldn't you put your gift into the curriculum and present it the way you perceive it? No. And then you have teachers. They will teach you how to do it, teach you how to do damage, and teach you how to heal it. That's balance. Teachers are very rare that you find, which you call mentors, which you call whatever. They're very rare, but they're all out there. You just got to find. And that's our journey, is to find somebody. Have you ever walked someplace and said, did you hear what he was saying? And everybody's saying, what? Did you hear that? It was meant for you to hear it. And everybody's heard it, but said, what does that mean? But to you, it was talking to the voice of your soul. You said, first of all, it makes sense here, but second of all, it feels right to me. So we look for mentors, first, that makes sense. Second, that feels right. And when you have somebody like that, you stay with them because they're always going to teach you something about you. They're mirroring your truth, and whatever that is you. And whatever your truth is your truth. And it doesn't matter. Teachers are very rare, but when you find them, you want to hang on to them. And you want to always, because they will always teach you something about you. Not to be clever, not to be, oh, here's another technique that you've never seen. I said, no, let's talk about you, turn you inside out. Let's talk about your wants, your love. Because first of all, the idea, if you don't like the way you feel, change the way you think. But to do that, we got to take all the wounds, what we call the woundology, take all the wounds out of your body. That everybody that cheated you, lied you, hurted you, heal all those. Mm-hmm. And then go into your subconscious mind and take you backwards and reprogram you as so far you want to call hypnotize you backwards and heal everybody in your subconscious mind from the age of 5 years old and go and collect that little girl and bring you back to where you're at. And then to the voice of your soul, that your voice of your soul knows why you're here on this journey and what you're here for. to go back and collect that voice of your soul and bring it forward, that you may walk on this earth understanding your purpose and reason why you exist.
I have always felt that martial arts is a lifetime journey. I can never learn everything there is to learn, not even a small amount. And the old TV show, Kung Fu,
Sure.
I loved it. And I think I remember this line correctly. It takes half a lifetime to master martial
It
arts.
takes
A
half a
lot.
lifetime. It takes a half a lifetime that you've been wounded. You've been learning pain all the way half through that life. And the second life, the second part of your life is you're healing those wounds and learning to come to terms with them, that you may let them go and be free from it.
Let's talk just a little bit about your show business career, because
Sure.
you were in a scene. This is the one scene everybody brings up when they find out that I'm coming down to interview Benny the Jet. Guess what scene they talk about? It's the one from the movie, is it Wheels on Meals with Jackie Chan?
Everybody talks about that one.
Yeah, and how long did it take to film that scene? Because I know in film, it didn't take 5 minutes.
Let's put it this way. Jackie and I, we actually fought. He, when I first met him, this was in 75, we go back, and I'm in Hong Kong. And they know I'm a fighter, but they want to see, and so he wants to know what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to see my spinning back kick because he knows that I'm dropping people with it. He wants to see it. So he gets one of his stunt guys, holds the bag, I kicked it, boom, and he went flying back and he's bleeding.
Wow.
So Jackie looks at me and goes, so then he goes, so he does a round off flip flop. And he goes, so I did round off flip flop. And he goes, then he goes into an aisleway that's about so big, about maybe 2.5, 3 feet. And he goes round off flip flop all the way down to the edge and he goes. And I'm looking at him like, hey, I can do gymnastics, but I'm not a gymnast to go be, but I did it anyway. And I went halfway through and I was getting dizzy and I'm crashing in the walls. And he looked at me and goes, so from that point on, he realized that I do this for real,
Mm-hmm.
And so his interpreter, so he wanted to learn English. So he would sit right by me. Every time he would sit right by me. Practically had his leg over my leg, and sit right there. And he would turn and his face would be right here. So I'd be like this. And he wanted to talk English because he wanted to speak English. And I'm looking at him like, okay. So he would say it and I said, no, not like that. Say it like this. This is what it means. And so he was learning, and then he would have his interpreter, and so forth. And then next halfway through the movie and stuff like that, but he had about 30 stunt guys, so they all get together and they'll do a little movement. And then I said, okay, it was just me. So I went out there and I said, okay, you do that, I'll do this. I went boom, boom, I did technique, and he go look, and they all get to huddle up. They'll come back and then they'll do this, this, and this. And I said, okay. And then I'll go up there and boom, boom, I'll do this. And next you know it, back and forth, we were choreographing our own stuff as we were going, and we just went on. And did you know that we actually slept on the set?
Wow.
We would sleep on the set, get up, wash up, eat, get up, and start fighting again. And then we went to Spain, and it was we had a blast. We went to Spain, and then for lunchtime we'll go out there play soccer and so forth, and then we'll go back to work. But it was that fight scene that I think it was probably about maybe a week, but it was nonstop. And we kicked each other. I mean, he knew he can kick me. Okay? And when he kicked me and he was hitting me with bag gloves, he would sweep and I would go down and he would hit me with an uppercut with golf gloves on. And boom, and I would have to put ice on it so it doesn't swell. But he wouldn't let me hit him. So I said, okay. So then I said, okay, now it's your turn. I threw a spinning back kick. So he put some pad on. I hit him so hard with a spinning back kick. He went flying. and he was trying to breathe. I mean, I knocked his air out, and now everybody ran over there. And then now they look at me, they had this mad look like, you just, I said, talk to him about hitting me. Yeah, this guy's hitting me, he's hitting me just as hard. So now all I did is kick him hard on the body, but I didn't do it in the face. And I would go boom, boom, and stop in his face because he was supposed to go this way, and I stopped it. And you go and he goes, in other words, thank you for stopping.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I had very good control, but we had a blast.
It has been a pleasure and a privilege to come into your school and to talk with you today. I've learned a lot.
This is not a school. What this is a safe haven place. It's a place to come and feel safe, to be able to express what you really feel inside. This is a place to turn yourself inside out.
All right. Thank you so much, Benny.
My pleasure.